A good place to start is the history of DISC. When we go back a long way, DISC is one of those profiles which really is the original profile in terms of all the work that has been done around understanding behaviour. So you may have seen 4-colour models and all sorts of different types of tools. They originated from DISC, and so way back in the 1890s, a man called Carl Jung, he was one of the first to study all about the differences between people's personality and behaviours and start to notice specific patterns. And really a lot of the work in all the different profiling tools, whether it's in DISC or other personality type profiles, really did stem from his original work. Then in 1929, a man called William Moulton Marston, he wrote a book called The Emotions of Normal People. And Marston was what we know as a behaviouralist. And a behaviouralist believes that the type of behaviours that you display are not so much or just a function of your personality, but they're a function of your personality in the context of whatever environment that you're in. So he was interested in the way that different people displayed their behaviours differently, even though some of them may have actually had the same type of personality. And so he was very interested in how we can adjust the environment to create a different behaviour. And so he noticed that there were some distinctive patterns, and that's where, first of all, the words around dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientious behaviours first emerged. So to understand DISC, let's go back to the absolute basics of understanding the DIS and C, and the basics of each profile. The most simple way to understand the concept of DISC, first of all, is to think about it in terms of the behaviours you do from your perspective, and how you behave in the context of the environment you might find yourself in, whether that's coaching or as an athlete or even in the workplace. And ultimately, the behaviours you do and the results that you get. That is DISC in its essence. And if you can understand your behaviours, you know the results you're getting. If the behaviours perhaps are not contributing to the result that you want, you can change your behaviour. We are not asking you to change your personality, and that's really, really important. The dominant style, the easiest way to understand dominant behaviour is it's all about how you deal with your issues, challenges, problems, stuff that you're confronted by. It could be as simple as your coffee cup is empty and what you're going to do about that. Someone with a high level of D, they see that there's an issue or there's something that they need to confront or deal with, and they just do it very directly. So they're results focused, outcome driven, and they will grab the bull by the horns and just deal with it. If they're a basketball coach, they see that their team is not getting done what they want to get done, they call a timeout, address it, send the players back out and deal with it. Someone with a lower level of D, so a lower level means 10s, 20s and 30s, they see the problem, but they think about different ways to find a solution. So they might take a step back, they might process, think about it, look at some data, talk to other people, collaborate with others, and then eventually put a solution in place. And there's benefits to that as well. People that are really rapid decision makers tend to be high Ds. People that take a step back and look at all the facts and data, they tend to be low Ds. And there's no good or bad or right or wrong. For the I profile, this is all about how you influence the people and the environment around you. It's also a measure of your extroversion or your interactivity with the people and the environment around you. So people that are high Is tend to be talkative, energetic, enthusiastic. They literally do live and breathe off the energy of others. People that are low Is are much more introverted. So they like to reserve their energy for the times that they want to and need to use it in the environment around them, which is most workplaces, by the way. Most workplaces are relatively extroverted in nature, meaning that you're going to be working with and around other people. Introverted people tend to recharge their batteries by having that personal space. Extroverted people tend to get energized and they charge their batteries by interacting with other people in their environment. The next one is the S, it stands for steady. And this is all about your pace of behaviour. So pace is illustrated in all the environments. If you live in New York City, it's often spoken about as being a really, really fast-paced environment. Someone who's a low S, they love that environment. They have a sense of urgency. They walk fast, they talk fast, they eat their lunch quickly. They do everything at a faster pace. Someone who is a high S is more patient. They take their time. They like to think things through. They don't just respond immediately. They'll actually process and analyse. So pace can be seen in all things that we do, and it's also the most common conflict that people have. You either feel like you're being rushed if you're a high S, or you feel like you're constantly waiting for people if you're a low S. So we see pace all the time. The last one is C, which is conscientious behaviour. And conscientious behaviour is a relatively easy one to understand because it's all about if you're a high C, so 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and above, you are more likely to follow rules, process, structure, stick to a system. Whereas a low C is someone who is more likely to see a guideline. Really, do we need to do it that way? Surely there's a different way. Let's work outside the square. They don't just like to follow a specific and precise routine all the time. This is seen if you're a coach, for example. Coaches who are high Cs, they love structure and game plans. And if you're an athlete, you will follow that structure and game plan. If you're a low C, it's more about, oh look, we'll just see how we go on the day. They'll have some loose structure, but they're happy to absolutely move away from it to see what's working. Athletes that are low C often talk about playing as they see it. And so in the context of any job, these different behaviors are required to a more or lesser degree. And the good thing about DISC is that if you're in a role, whether it's in coaching or as an athlete or in any career choice you make, where a certain behavior is required, in a perfect world, we would like for you to have that behavior. But if you don't, the good thing about it philosophically is that you can adapt. You can learn to do different behaviors, and that's the key to DISC.